Right, students, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So far, 77 participants, and so I don't know others will join or not. I will start the lesson. So hopefully, I will take more than 2 hours, right? Normally, today's we have allocated 3 hours, but unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to start at 8:30. I had another duty in the morning. Anyway, if you have any research meeting, if anyone have any research meeting or whatever the other planned work, so you can leave from the meeting and then join with that activity. It doesn't matter. So you can get the activity from the LMS. Last Monday we discussed time series analysis. So we stopped at the multiplicative model, right? I start from that point. Before start, let me remind you what we have already discussed. So as you all know, the time series, now you have a better idea. What does it mean? So we are focusing qualitative analysis since we need some existing information. So based on that, we predict the future. Then quantitative forecasting basically focus on two models, time series models and causal models. Time series model, we are using smoothing techniques, and the causal models, we use regression. And so here we focus on time series, the time series in the sense set of observation we made over the even time gap, right? So the important thing is the observation are taken within an even or equal time gap. Otherwise, it won't be the time series. Then we predict the future by using different smoothing and different models, right? Smoothing techniques. Then we have discussed the different components in time series. Are you clear? So can you hear me? Student, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, okay, right, okay. So, right, the components of time series, we have identified 4 components. Trend component in the sense overall upward or downward movement in the time series. It may be upward trend or downward trend. Cyclical component in the sense upward or downward movement for more than 1 year, right? For more than 1 year. So it's basically focused on more than 1 year. Then seasonal component in the sense upward or downward movement within a 1 year. Then irregular component in the sense unexpected behavior, unexpected movement in the time series, right? Unexpected movement in the time series. So then we discuss decomposition. Decomposition in the sense we break down these sub patterns and we remove these sub patterns and we smooth the line, then we forecast the future, right? So the decomposition in the sense the breaking down this component sub component, right? So then decomposition models, we have already discussed multiplicative model and we have to complete it, and another model is the additive model, right? Let's complete our last activity. right? So far I have already uploaded this activity, right? So you can download from the LMS. We have this historical data, quarterly sales, right? Quarterly sales for 2019, 20, and 21, right? 21. Then we calculate the moving average. So moving average. So basically the moving averages depend on the number of season, right? Number of season. So based on that, this example, we have 4 season, 4 quarters. So then first we calculate the 4-period moving average. Since the number of seasons are even, so then there is no middle value. Then again we should go for the centered moving average, right? So I think hope you remember. Based on that, we calculated centered moving average. Any questions? Sorry. Let me share. I have already shared. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Sorry, I just share the PDF, I think. So then we calculate centered moving average. Centered moving average calculated based on that since we have the even number of seasons. Then next step is identify the seasonal and irregular component, right? So identify the seasonal and irregular component. Seasonal and irregular component can be calculated by sales divided by the centered moving average, what we have already calculated. Based on that, we are going to calculate the adjusted seasonal index, right? Adjusted seasonal index. So then we calculate the average of each quarter values, right? Each quarter values. So then we copied the each quarter, first quarter values, second quarter, likewise, we get the average. Right. So then average we calculate. The purpose of calculating average is remove the irregular component, right? So here the first step is we calculate over here the average, right? The average calculation, the purpose of calculating average is remove the irregular component. Here we identify seasonal and irregular component. Then again, we get the same quarter averages. So the purpose of getting averages in the sense, we are going to remove the irregular component, right? So here you have given all the steps, right? So here the season, all the computed seasonal values, that is season of irregular influence, and obtain the estimate of the seasonal influence, right? Call seasonal index, right? The step 4 says we get the average, then we remove the irregular component. Hereafter we calculate the adjusted seasonal index, right? So hopefully you remember all the steps, right? So then adjusted seasonal index, then we copy the quarterly adjusted seasonal index values. right? Then we calculate the deseasonalized sales. Deseasonalized sales is calculated by actual sales divided by adjusted seasonal index. The last step we did is we remove the seasonal effect, right? Here we identify the seasonal and irregular component here from this column. This is 1.17, 0.36. This consists of seasonal and irregular component. Again, we get the average. So here the purpose of this step is remove the irregular component. Then we calculate the adjusted seasonal index. Then we copy over here the seasonal index value. Then we calculate the deseasonalized sales. That means we remove the seasonal and irregular both, right? If you remember the graph, you can see that actual line is this fluctuated, but the deseasonalized sales, the line has smooth, right? That the fluctuations are limited, fluctuations are very smooth, and then we can forecast the future based on the smooth line, right? Right. Then we are going to forecast the future, right? Based on this smooth line. We called it smoothing, right? අපි මේ fluctuations අඩු කරනවට අපි කියන්නේ මේක smooth කරනවා කියන එක. Smoothing techniques, right? So we are using smoothing techniques to remove this fluctuation or minimize this fluctuation. Then we are going to forecast the 2020, right? 2020 quarterly sales, right? First, we do need to calculate. So what we are going to do is it's something the regression formula, y equal a plus bx, right? Let me increase the font. So this is the basic function. What is a? What is a? So the normal function, that is basic function. A is intercept, right? So the b is slope, a is intercept, b is slope. Then we can predict the x is what we predicted, time, right? X is so here we need to get the points, right? So we are going to predict these 13, 14, and 16 observations, right? We are going to predict, right? The x is this 13, 14, 15, and 16 observations, right? So then first we need to calculate the intercept. Intercept. Intercept, right? Intercept. We are going to calculate the A, right? And slope, right? Let's calculate the intercept of this deseasonalized sales. Intercept, we can use the Excel function intercept, type intercept, intercept, right? Intercept, select the intercept. So you can work with me, right? You have already have this activity sheet. So you can continue with me. Those who have missed the last lecture, right? Intercept, we calculate the intercept. What we are going to do is non-y. Y in the sense, what is y? In a function, the y is non-y in the sense, already we have deseasonalized sales. Then non-x in the sense that our observations, right? 12 period, right? So then this is intercept. Right? Intercept 4.0877. Again, I will do it. Intercept, just type enter, then it automatically comes. Then we select y. Here you have given the formula over here. If you see over here, non-y and non-x's, right? Non-y values and non-x value we have to give. So then x in the sense our observations 1 to 12, right? Then close the bracket, then press enter. You can give the values at once, so we can you can get the function here, the function dialog box. Then you can type over there. Then slope function, again non-y and non-x. Non-y, it's deseasonalized sales, comma, non-x in the sense up to first 12 observations. The time is our x, so we observe our sales over the period. So then x is the time is the x-axis. So then it's 0.93924. Right. Have you finished? So then based on that, we can predict the future y, right? We already know intercept, we already know slope. Then, and we already know the x. X is the time factor or time value, right? So here, then we can equal A is intercept. That should be fixed, right? Plus B is slope. That should be also fixed. Multiply by x. X in the sense the time variant. All right. So it won't fix because it change over the period 13, 14, 15, 16. But the slope and intercept is same. Then press enter. So let's reduce the decimals. Then we can drag it down. Now this is the forecasted deseasonalized sales. Forecasted deseasonalized sales. What we do is we get the function of this deseasonalized sales, right? The function or trend line, right? So it's also a trend line. So if you add the trend line for the deseasonalized sales, so here how you can add the trend line, just click somewhere on the deseasonalized sales. Then right click and add trend line. Then here it comes in red color. And if you want, you can display the equation. So here the equation of this trend line. Here, this is what we calculated, right? So we get the trend of this deseasonalized sales. So we can't predict based on the actual sales because it's highly fluctuated. So then we reduce the fluctuations and we smooth the line. Then we predict the trend line. Based on trend line, so we predict the future, right? Let's add this predicted values. Select data. So we can add predicted deseasonalized sales. If you miss, please answer. Deseasonalized sales. X in the sense here I start from the 12. Here the X. Y in the sense I start from the last. Otherwise it won't connected with the existing graph. Right. So here you can see our prediction, right? This is prediction, that green color. This is the prediction. You can see that it followed the same deseasonalized sales, right? We predict for the next year. It won't drop, but so it continues the same pattern. Right. Based on that, we can predict here we predict deseasonalized sales. Not yet we completed. Not yet we predict the actual sales, expected sales, right? This is deseasonalized sales, which is remove these seasonal and irregular fluctuations. So then we need to add back this seasonal and irregular component, right? So then we can predict the actual predicted sales. So then we copy the seasonal index right? Seasonal index. We copy the seasonal index. We copy the seasonal index. Yes, chat questions. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Can't see. Oh, sorry, sir. Could you please show us again that? Can't see. Can you see the Excel sheet?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Could you please show us again that how to first red line on the chart? Right. Okay. So can you do it again? Yes. 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 This is trend line. It's not red line, right? It's trend line. It's called trend line. Let me draw again trend line. This is trend line. I just deleted trend line. Then just click on any somewhere, not on the dots, not on the observation, somewhere in the line. Then right click, add trend line. So then you can see the dialog box. It consists of exponential, linear, right? Polynomial, power. So likewise, out of that, at this moment, we just select linear trend line. Linear trend line. And here you can tick the display. So then here you can see the equation on the chart itself, right? Right. Now we predict the deseasonalized sales. Let me do this again if anyone missed. What I did is just apply this y equal abx. This is the basic function, right? තමයි අපේ සාමාන්‍ය basic function එක mathematics වල predict කරනකොට trend line එකේ function එක y is the predicted value, a in the sense intercept, and b is the slope. So what do you understand by intercept? What does it mean, intercept? When the x 0, so what would be the y, right? At the 0x, what would be the y? So then slope in the sense, what do you understand by slope? Slope again, මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Slope is 0.39. What does it mean? So if you change by x 1 unit, y will be changed by 0.31, right? So they in the sense where the x 0. Then slope in the sense, if you change by x 1 unit, then y will be changed by 0.39, close to 0.4, right? So then we predicted, based on that, we can predict the future. Y is going to predict. So then intercept plus slope multiply by, so these multiply by x. So these values should be fixed, or they should be absolute cells. It won't change over the period. In the absolute cell, I think you already know the Excel, right? Absolute cell. We fix it as absolute cell because it won't change over the period. Then press enter. Then you can drag it down. Right. Then here we just copy. We already given the function for the adjusted seasonal index, which is VLOOKUP function, right? So if you don't remember, I will do it again. VLOOKUP. So the VLOOKUP, in the sense we copy some information from the same amount, copy from somewhere table, right? In vertically. HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP, I think you have already practiced some Excel functions, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. So the VLOOKUP, in the sense we copy vertically. Horizontal, if you copy the horizontally, when you we use HLOOKUP, right? Here use VLOOKUP. Yeah, copying vertically, right? So the lookup value, in the sense quarter, it will change. Then table array in the sense here you can select this table. Remember, since I have named this cell, it's automatically taken the seasonal index. But if you are not named the cell, you can name cell over here, right? VLOOKUP. Quarter. Here, seasonal index. Come on. So then the value should be copied from the second column. Then we just types 2. Then press enter. Then just drag it up to 16 observation, right? These are forecasted, right? Then we can forecast the expected actual sales, right? Forecasted. Forecasted sales. Sales for the 2022, right? Right. The forecasted sales, how do we calculate it? Again, chat. So for disturbance, could you please rearrange the whole chart? Some areas are confusing due to the single issue, right? Signal issues. So let me do it later. Right. Then we can calculate the actual sales. Deseasonalized sales. How do we calculate the deseasonalized sales? Here, we divide actual sales from the adjusted seasonal index, right? So for calculate the deseasonalized sales, actual sales divide by adjusted seasonal index. So then we have that deseasonalized sales, then we can focus the actual sales. What we can do? we have the seasonalized sales as well as the adjusted seasonal index for the next period. So how do we forecast the sales? Here we divide. Then when you come over here, what we can do?
Multiply.
Yes, very good. So we can deseasonalize sales multiply by adjusted seasonal index. This is forecasted sales over the. This is forecasted sales over the next year, 4 quarters. Right. Here, 5.94, 16.87, 11.97, and 4. Normally, the 4th quarter, the sales will goes down, right? Right. This is how we can forecast based on the multiplicative model, right? The student asked to draw the figure again, right? Let me draw it again. Right. So first step at the very beginning, we just get the actual sales and the observation. Right. Insert scatter plot. Right. Insert scatter plot. Right. So there we can add the trend line as well. If you want, you can see that this trend line function for the trend line as well for the actual sales. This is not the function for the predicted sale, deseasonalized sales. We are not using this function because it's followed some highly fluctuated. It's highly fluctuated. So then we get the deseasonalized sales. We don't need that. We can add, right click on and select data, right? So we can add deseasonalized sales. Right. Deseasonalized sales. X in the sense time, then Y is Y, then press OK. Then we can add the trend line. With the equation, trend line with the equation. So you just increase the font. Then further we can add the deseasonalized sales line, predicted deseasonalized sales, predicted D deseasonalized sales. Then X is the time. Remember, you should start from the last observation, actual last observation. Otherwise, if you start from here, that the line will break. So then I start from this X, then Y is here. Then press OK. Further, we can add actual predicted sales, right? Select data. Further, we can add predicted sales. Predicted or forecasted sales. Forecasted sales for the 2022, right? Then X is same as starting from 12, 13, 14. Y is forecasted sales. Remember, I start from the last observation, actual last observation. Then press OK. Right. This is the final graph, right? Right. You can see our prediction is this 12, this 13 and 16. These are the predicted. It follows the same pattern, right? It follows the same pattern. Right. So the forecasted sales, yes. Forecasted sales. Forecasted sales is calculated, just calculated by, when you calculate the deseasonalized sales, we divide actual sales from the seasonal index. To calculate the forecasted sales, here we have deseasonalized sales and the adjusted seasonal index. So then we just deseasonalized sales multiplied by here adjusted seasonal index. The forecasted sales can be calculated. Deseasonalized sales multiplied by adjusted seasonal index. Then it just drag it down. Right? Here, how we can decompose our seasonal and irregular component and predict the deseasonalized sales. Based on that, we can predict the expected sales value for 2022, right? This is called multiplicative model. Remember, the model which we apply is depend on the behavior of the time series, right? Right. Any questions so far? Any question? Yes. Yes, right. Very good. Right. This is a multiplicative model, and another chat. Forecast sales on trend line. Forecast sales. Here, forecasted sales. This is deseasonalized sales, right? So we just draw the. So if you need to add the trend line, wherever you can click the line on the line, then right click. Right click and add trend line, right? Just you can linear it automatically, take on the linear and add display. Right. Right. Let's move to the additive model, right? So this is what we so far did. These are the steps you have clearly understand by reading the slideshow, calculating the seasonal index, deseasonalized time series. Using the deseasonalized time series, we identify the trend, right? So what we did is we deseasonalize sales, then we identify the trend of this deseasonalized sales. If you remember, this is the trend. We predict the trend by calculating the intercept and slope. And seasonal adjustments, then cyclical components, right? So we are not concerned in the cyclical component, right? By dividing each time series observation. So with deseasonalized sales, relevant comparisons made between observations, right? So all the steps are given, right? The calculation is also given here. Here you can see. I also copy. If you miss anything, you can copy over here. This is the trend line. It's also y equal a plus bx. Slope. So the trend is there, right? Here you can see the quarterly sales forecasted. Here, if you are using the monthly, so then 12-month moving average need to be calculated. Since it's even number, then you need to also calculate 2-period moving average, right? Since it's difficult to predict the cyclical component, we are not much concerned the cyclical component. Right, let's move to the additive model, right? Additive model. So if you remember, there are two instances we are applying this multiplicative model and additive model. If the seasonal fluctuations are constant, right? If the seasonal fluctuations are constant, we go for the additive model. If the seasonal fluctuations are followed the trend line, so likewise it's increasing trends, that the seasonal fluctuations are followed the trend. So then we apply the multiplicative, right? Let's practice how we can differentiate this from the multiplicative model, right? Here I am using the same example since it's reduce the time consumed, right? So you can just copy the same data sheet into another Excel sheet and just delete these moving average and deseasonalized sales values, right? Copy it to another sheet and change the model, additive model. Change the model as additive model. Just copy the same. So we'll do later on the new one, which is most related to the additive model. But here for the understanding, we just use the same example. So then we can reduce the time consumed. Please copy this information. Right. Did you finish? It just copy the same, right? So then delete the values. So when you finish, raise your hands. Hopefully you finished. Have you finished? You don't need to type again. You just copy into same activity and delete what we have already calculated. Yes,
Okay,
finish.
sir.
Okay, right. Right, hopefully you finished, and if you're not finished, you can work it with me, right? Here the multiplicative model, that steps also given. Same step, but little bit different. Here the difference is we predict the model, we add these trend, seasonal and irregular component, right? If you remember the multiplicative model, so we multiply here, we multiply by each component, right? So to predict the future, we multiply by each component. Here in additive model, we add the name itself given multiplicative, we multiply. In additive model, we add these components, right? So we add these component to predict the future, right? So you can leisurely read the, you can leisurely read the steps. So we'll do it. Just a moment. right? Let me calculate the 4-period moving average. It won't change. It's same as multiplicative model, the getting the average. Just select the 4 period. Since we have the four season, we get the average of 4 seasons, right? 4 seasons. Right? What we did is 4-period moving average. No change in calculating the way you average. Just select on 4 observations, 4 quarters, close the bracket, then press enter. If you need the fill, you can double click on it and delete the last lines, right? Because here we don't add because it does not follow the quarters. So if you take this, so here, sorry, we started from the third, right? Otherwise, it won't correct the average, right? Loss. Yes, now it's all right. So if you see that this one 4, again 4, right? This 4. If you drag down, what will happen? So it's also calculated the blank cell, right? So therefore we don't add. Then since it's even number, again we need to calculate the centered moving average, 2 period, $13, right? 4 period and centered moving average, it does not change with the previous method. Then we are going to calculate the seasonal and irregular component. This is how it changed, right? This is how it changed from the multiplicative model. We get the actual sales. Then we minus, we reduce, centered moving average, right? We get the difference between actual sales and the centered moving average, right? We deduct sales minus centered moving average, right? Earlier, what we did is in multiplicative model, here we divide, right? In additive model, right? So we deduct. Right. Additive model. So seasonal and irregular component is derived by sales minus centered moving average. So we get the difference. Then same as we just colored the same quarter values. Same quarter. For the understanding purpose, we are doing this. Otherwise, it won't essential. Right. Then seasonal index can be calculated. We copy the same quarter value, first quarter values, right? First quarter values equal first quarter. Second quarters. Third quarters. Fourth quarters. Right. Then we get the average of these two. If you remember, we can do it at once. Right. Here, this table is given to calculate this averages at once, right? Here you can copy, we can use two options. We can copy each quarter values, or else we can get the average if function, apply average if function. Average if you remember, we in last example we practice it. So then the range is quarter. That is the range we are going to calculate. That should be fixed, comma. Then we are going, the criteria is we are going to copy the same quarter values. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, they are the quarters, comma. Then average range, the average range in the sense these are the values we are going to get the average. Again, it should be fixed. Then close the bracket and press enter. Right, you can see that the same values can be derived, right? Can be derived. Different method. Some short steps. If you miss, I just do it again for just once. Average. Just select the range. This is the range we are going to get the average. Then press F4. In some computers, you need to click with the function key. Otherwise, you can directly click the F4. Then criteria is we are going to get the similar average value for the quarters. One, two, three, four. Then select the averages. Again, it should be fixed. Right. Then seasonal factor. Seasonal factor. Here we get the sum of these values. Sum of these values. Earlier, what we did is four divided by number of seasons divided by average, right? In multiplicative model, what we did is 4 season, it's 4 in the sense number of seasons. If it is a month, then it should be 12, right? So likewise here, the additive model, what we are going to do is seasonal factor is calculated. This sum of these averages, divide by 4, right? This is how differ from the multiplicative, right? Sum of these average divide by 4. Earlier 4 divided by sum. So here in additive model, right? Right. Then adjusted seasonal index can be calculated average minus seasonal factor, right? In a multiplicative model, what we did, we multiply these two, seasonal factor and average. But here, what we are going to do is, what we did is, it's average minus B27 in the seasonal factor. We get the subtract, right? This is adjusted seasonal index. So here we can also calculate it, get the sum. We can click complete it. At the exam, you can follow this simple table. For the understanding, I just want to highlight over here how it's calculated. But you can, at the exam, you can use these simple steps. Then sum of these divide by 4. Remember, 4 is number of seasons, right? Registered seasonal index, average minus seasonal factor. Right. Right. Then I'm going to prepare the seasonal index table, right? Here, I'm going to copy the seasonal index value over here, transpose. We are going to transpose in the sense we just take the opposite direction. Transpose in the sense we change the direction of this value, because we are going to apply the VLOOKUP. Right? Then by pressing Control Shift, press Enter. Otherwise, it won't function. You need to fix, you need to click Control plus Shift plus then Enter. Plus in the sense while clicking, while pressing Control Shift and press Enter. If you miss, I'll just do it. Equal, transpose. These are the values. Select the values. Then Control එකයි Shift එකයි press කරගෙන Enter key එක press කරන්න. Right? Then you just copy. So the first step, even in additive model, first step is draw the scatter plot, right? I missed the step, right? Since that same example I used, right? For this kind of behavior, that additive model is not applicable, but later on we'll see how it's come. Right? Yes. Right? Can you do the table? So here, I think this table, seasonal index, am I right? Here, when you get the transpose, just type transpose is not accepted. So first you need to select all these cells, right? Otherwise it won't copy the correct value. Select all these cells, then plus transpose, then equal transpose, then get the table, then close the bracket, then Control Shift Enter. So this table, I will do it again if you missed one. Get the average, I think it's done. Get the average. Then seasonal factor. Seasonal factor is calculated. Total value divide by 4. This should be fixed. Right? Then press Enter. Then adjusted seasonal index, average minus seasonal factor. Average minus seasonal factor. right? Minus. Remember that it's how it's changed from the multiplicative model, right? Then we copy this adjusted seasonal index into our original table. We look up. Here we are going to copy the quarterly values. Then table. Since here I have not named the table, then you need to fix it, right? Press F4, right? Press F4. You don't need to select the headings. Then comma. Then you need to get the values from the second column. So then you just put 2. Then press enter. Double click on it. So then it automatically copied the same quarter values over the period. You can see 264 till again it's come to 1, again 265, 265, 265. This is the forecasted period. This is 2022. This is 2021. This is 2020. And this is 2019. This is forecasted. Then deseasonalized sales. Deseasonalized sales. Please complete the steps. If you miss any step, please complete it. Here the VLOOKUP, right? So some student, most of them have you lost your connection? So I have the same issue since I am using backup. So I just have the power. Do you have a power failure, students?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's why that most of them have lost their connection. No?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yes. How do you connect it? 56 is there. I think it's island-wide electricity drop, right?
Oh, sir.
Electricity drop pela ne buta හැමෝගෙම.
Oh, sir.
So what we'll do? ඔයාලා phone එකක් හරි මොකක් හරිද use කරන්නේ මේ?
Oh, sir.
කොහමද දැන් 57 ළමයි 30ක්ම drop වෙලා. 30 students has dropped. I'm not sure whether that electricity comes within a little time. මං හිතන්නේ current එක ඒවා කියලා. So what shall we do? Mm, mm, mm. So if you have any question, those who have connected, you can ask. If you have any questions. Since if I continue, so half of the student will so they won't be able to connect with the lesson. And also others will, I also have the same issue. It's just the battery backup is there, but the signal issue might come. Anyway, so if you have any questions, I just stop from here and let me know additional time, right? So I will get another 1.5 hours in another day. So I hope to have a Sunday, but I heard that some of you have chartered exams. So even today, if you have additional time, let me know, right? If the power issue is solved, I can continue it. Right. Since we have limited number of that, most of the students are lost. I just stop from here. If you have any questions, you can ask, and I will do the balance part in another day. Right? Any questions so far? Those who have joined?
Sir, how to get that chart, sir?
Which one, Bhuta? Which one? This one? No, earlier.
Chart. Yes, sir. Yes, this one.
So here we just add the scatter plot. Huh? Just select this time, and so you can select with the heading time and the sales value. This is X and sales is Y. Then we insert, and we can insert the scatter plot right here, the Excel. In chart area, you can see the scatter plot, right? There are different formats. So I just select this one, and here, this is how we can get the scatter plot.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
In earlier practical, if you have any questions. So can you explain the average if function? Yes, sure. This is how average if function. Let me do it. Equal, then average if. So then if you want to get the dialog box, function dialog box, here these are the criteria we have to assign. Range, criteria, and average range. The range in the sense we are going to get the quarterly averages. So then this is the range. This is the area we are going to pick the data. This is how that the criteria, right? 3, 4, 1, we are going to get the same. So then the range is that the quarter, right? Then criteria is we are going to select the same quarter average, right? Same quarter average. And this won't be changed. So then it should be fix it. range sorry. Right, range should be fixed. Then criteria is the same quarter, so that will change, right? When we drag it, it will change. So then average range. So these are the area we are going to get the average, right? This is the calculated average value. Then we can select the average values. Then again, we need to fix it an absolute cell as absolute cell. Then press enter. Right. Then you can drag it. Right. Chat question. So additive model එකේදී trend line එකක් අඳින්නේ නැද්ද? Right. So far we didn't calculate no trend line. So we can get the trend line. Trend line is, we are going to get the trend line of this deseasonalized sales, right? That part is not yet completed. So we analyze this trend analysis for just forecasting for future sales. No, if you want any product details, not for the sales, any future data, but the thing is that information should be a time series data, right? Not for the sales, not for the production unit, right? Number of sales, number of units, right? Share prices, right? So if you get the share prices for the last each month, average share prices, right? So you can pick the average share price for the month share price, then you can forecast the future share prices, right? The important thing is that the observation should be made over the time series, right? Equal time gap, then we can forecast it, right? It's not just for the sales, we can apply any time series data. Right. Right. With this, sorry for the disturbance. Right. I just stop from here since the power failure. If you have any additional time, please let me know. I will do an additional one, right? So I just do the lectures for this month only. So therefore, please inform me. I have to cover 2 areas, that time series analysis and the portfolio. If you have any additional time, please let me know, right? So I haven't equal time series, then we can't use time series for the forecasting purpose, sir. If haven't equal time, if there is not the even time gap, then it's not a time series. අපි observations අරන් තියෙන්නේ සමාන කාල පරිච්ඡේදවල සමාන time gap එකක් නැතුව නම් ඒක time series එකක් නෙමෙයි. time series එක තියෙන important characteristic එක තමයි ඒ data අපි observe කරන්න ඕනේ, observations ගන්න ඕනේ equal time gap එකකින්. Annually, yearly, monthly, right? Quarterly, right? Otherwise, we can't say it's a time series. Time series එක තියෙන inherent quality එක inherent ලක්ෂණය තමයි ඒකේ තියෙන characteristic එක තමයි important most important thing is to get the information in a even time gap, right? Otherwise you can't say it a time series. Ek time series it's just observations. It's observation over the time series, that the name is there. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll do another additional lecture when you give me a time, right? Thank you very much for joining. Please practice it. Hopefully, I think you also have a online exam. I don't know whether what will happen. So therefore, practice it. It's important, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining. We'll do it another one. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.